Hello and welcome to your second cURL tutorial. In this tutorial, we will be creating an application to download files off of the web using cURL. Now, for demonstration purposes, I have already created this application right here. Let's go over to our root folder where this application is stored in our cURL folder. Okay, as you can see here, index.php, and I've created a folder downloads as well. Let's demonstrate how this application works. So you get a file off of the web. This is an image JPEG. Copy the URL. Let's say we enter gibberish. It doesn't work. Let's enter the URL now and click download. It says file downloaded. We go over to our downloads folder, and as you can see here, the file has been downloaded into our downloads folder. Okay, we could also download pages as well. This is also a file, so we click the URL of that. Okay, this is on downdrops.com test data.php. Copy the URL and enter the URL and click download. File downloaded. We go over to our downloads folder, and as you can see here, the file has been downloaded in our downloads folder. Okay, so let's go ahead and build this application from scratch. Okay, let's delete the contents of the cURL folder in our root folder. Okay, so now let's create an index.php file again. Okay, and save it in our root folder. Okay, and let's also create a downloads folder. Okay, close this out. Okay, so let's create our form element. Okay, opening and closing form tags. Let's give it an action, and let's give it a method of post. The action, we will post this form data back to index.php in our localhost. Okay, so the action is going to be our localhost. Let's create an input element. Let's give it a name. Let's give it a name of URL, and let's give it a max length of 2000 characters. And let's create a button. Submit, and let's give it a value of download. Okay, so this is our form. Refresh, and this is our form right here. Okay, so above the form element, let's create our opening and closing PHP tags. Okay, now we are going to use a simple class simply to encapsulate our data. So we're going to say class. We're gonna call this class download. Okay, so we are going to create a method in this class to first of all clean our URL. Okay, so we're going to create a protected method to clean our URL. So we're going to say clean URL. We're going to make it protected because we are not going to use it outside of the class. Okay, so we're going to say if is set URL, if not empty URL, make sure the URL it has something in it. Okay, we're going to say if string length. Before we do that, let's create a constant URL max length let's say 2050. Make it greater than the max length of the form. Okay, 2050. So we're going to say if string length of URL is less than self, which refers to the constant. We're going to refer to the constant URL max length. So we say self URL max length. So if it's less than that, we're going to return strip tags to clean it out URL. Okay, this is our basic function to clean our URL. Okay, so we're going to create another function to verify whether the URL is actually a URL. So we're going to say is URL. Let's open this out. We're going to make it protected as well, protected function. Actually call a method. So protected function is URL. Protected method is URL. So we pass the URL as the parameter, and we say if, first of all, let's say clean URL. So we clean the URL. We say if is set URL. Okay, we're gonna pass a function to verify whether it's a valid URL. That function is filter var. So we're gonna say if filter var, this is a boolean, so if it's true or false. If filter var, the first argument is gonna be the URL. If filter var URL, the second argument is gonna be filter validate URL. And the third parameter, the third argument is going to be filter flag path required. So if this is equal to true, then it's a actual URL most likely. So we're going to say we return URL. Okay, we also going to create a third function to get the extension of the URL if it is an actual URL. So we're going to say get extension. Let's say return extension. So we're going to say it's going to be protected as well. Protected method, return extension. We pass the URL as the parameter. So first of all, we're going to say if it is the URL, if is URL, then we're going to get the extension. Now what we use to get the extension is the preg split. So we're going to preg split the URL into several parts and get the end of the URL. So we're going to say end equals end function, and within that end function we're going to say preg split. We're going to split it using regular expressions. We're going to split the URL. Okay, so we're going to split the URL into parts delimited by a period. Okay, and we're going to split as many as we find in the string. So we're going to split the URL delimited by dot. If we go over to the browser, and as you can see here, the file, if you enter a direct URL to a file, it will have an extension, and before the extension is a period. So we're going to split the string delimited by this period to get the extension right here. So let's go back to our method. So we're going to split it, delimited by the period. So, and we're going to say if is set URL, if is set end. Now we're going to return end. So this is our function, our method to get the end of the extension of the URL. Okay, so we have three methods here. The first method is going to clean the URL. The second method is going to figure out whether it is an actual URL, and if it is a URL, the third method is going to get the extension. Now our final method is our method to download the actual file. And this is going to be a public method because we're going to call it outside of the class. So you're going to say download file. So it's going to be public function download file, and we're going to pass the URL. First we're going to figure out if it's a actual URL. This will also clean it as well. So we're going to say if this is a URL, we're going to do some stuff right here. So download file, if it is a URL, we get the extension. First of all, this dot return extension URL. Okay, so I'm running out of time, so I'm going to pause the video here and we're going to pick up in another video. Thank you.